Good evening and welcome to Last Week Tonight. I'm your host, Edward Roten. Today, I want to talk to you about being gay in Russia. But not just gay, but a sexual minority or a member of the LGBT community in Russian society. Russia's position on LGBT rights is just as confusing as when you're looking at a picture of Vladimir Putin riding a horse shirtless. While you're legally allowed to be gay in Russia, Russian officials and legislation have made it impossible to fully embrace an openly gay lifestyle. Russia needs to align their legislations and actions with what they're saying and reverse anti-LGBT laws. Here's a little history lesson for you. During the Soviet Union, homosexuality was a crime and punishable with prison and hard labor. Homosexuals were regarded as pedophiles or fascists and were seen outside and considered to be outside of normal society. Lesbians would be institutionalized if ever being with another woman, and being a lesbian was regarded as a psychological disorder. In 1933, with the passing of Article 121 in the Soviet Criminal Code, sodomy was made a criminal offense with punishable up to 5 years in prison. After the fall of the Soviet Union, homosexual relationships became decriminalized 2 years later in 1993. However, there was no amnesty for those previously jailed for homosexual crimes. Homosexuality was later declassified as a mental illness in 1999, and although gays and lesbians can serve openly in the military, there is a strict don't ask, don't tell policy. While it's legal to be gay, lesbian, and even transgender in Russia, Russian leaders seem to be making it as hard as possible to be a sexual minority in Russian society. The LGBT community lacks marital rights, job security, child adoption rights, and have little to no protection against homophobia. On June 29, 2013, Vladimir Putin signed the Gay Propaganda Law, a law that prohibits homosexual propaganda in order to protect children. The law depicts propaganda as distribution of information that is aimed at the formation among minors of non-traditional sexual attitudes, attractiveness of non-traditional sexual relationships, misconceptions of the social equivalence of traditional and non-traditional sexual relations, and enforcing information about non-traditional sexual relations that evoke an interest to such relations. The loose definition of propaganda has created a platform for homophobia and does nothing for Russia's society except for allow discrimination of sexual minorities. Because of this law, Russian authorities routinely deny permits for pride parades, intimidate and arrest LGBT activists, and condone anti-LGBT statements made by government officials. The ambiguous definition of propaganda allows for law enforcement and citizens to interpret any public gay act as breaking the law. The new law sets administration's fines of LGBT propaganda to 4,000 to 5,000 rubles for individuals, which is about $150 to $120 to $150 and up to 800,000 to 1 million rubles for non-government corporations and other legal entities, which is about 24,000 to 30,000 US dollars. Russian officials can also hold foreigners suspected of promoting gay propaganda in jail for up to 15 days and can even deport them from the country. Rather than publicly denouncing their anti-LGBT beliefs, which can be seen through their legislative and their lack of response to the protection against homophobic attitudes, the Russian government remains silent on its opinions towards sexual minorities publicly. These issues gained national attention during the 2014 Winter Olympics. There was major international concern since the Olympic Charter specifically states a rejection of any kind of discrimination. Russia, however, insisted that the anti-propaganda law was not discriminatory and did not affect the rights of LGBT members in Russia, and that they would enforce the law during the Games, but all gay athletes were welcome. A few weeks before the Winter Games began, Vladimir Putin made a statement saying, "We aren't banning anything, we aren't rounding up anyone, we have no criminal punishment for relations unlike other countries. One can feel relaxed and at ease, but please leave the children in peace." This statement captures the exact contradiction in what the government is saying and what the government is doing. While they state gays are welcome, they fine and punish public gay acts. There was even talk about boycotting the Olympics, but many agreed that this was an extreme solution to a problem that would not be fixed overnight. Even openly gay athlete Johnny Weir was against the boycott because he did not want athletes missing out on this opportunity, something they've trained their whole lives for, over politics. The Sochi Winter Olympics, however, did bring awareness to the anti-LGBT laws in Russia and helped spark an international movement in support of the LGBT Russian community. Many celebrities and organizations all around the world protested Russia's homophobic laws and attitudes. Many celebrities, organizations all around the world protested these homophobic attitudes and laws. Coke and other sponsors of the Olympics introduced gay right-themed advertising during the Olympic campaigns. For Coke, this included rerunning a Super Bowl ad which featured two gay dads. However, did we really expect Russia to be accepting of gays when they can barely get a hold of this whole democracy thing? Russia is still trying to manage life after Soviet rule. Essentially, Russia has had to start from scratch after the fall of the Soviet Union, and we have seen that with the economy, legislation, and now civil rights. However, just because Russia may be late in the game does not mean the treatment of LGBT members is justified. Russia leaders need to determine their stance on LGBT rights rather than dismissing the issue and approving anti-gay laws. Gaps in their stance and their legislation for LGBT rights allow and justify discrimination. If Russia and Putin want to say that being gay or a sexual minority is permitted, then they need to stand behind that and protect their citizens and stop passing laws that promote discrimination and homophobia. Thank you, and have a good night.